right, guys, I'm LT.
And I'm Dan.
And welcome to BHK Outdoors, your beacon for all things outdoors. So grab a cup of coffee.
Or chaga.
And for the next 30 minutes, let's get out there. Hey, as always, if you have any questions or show ideas for Dan and I, you can email us at radio@bhkoutdoors.com. Hey, today's program is brought to you by Self Reliance Illustrated, a bi-monthly magazine. You can check it out at selfrelianceillustrated.com. The magazine is available in print and e-online versions. Every month you'll find some interesting subjects on fire, water, shelter, wild edibles, and a lot of how-to and do-it-yourself stuff. So it's a great magazine. Check it out at selfrelianceillustrated.com. And guys, thanks for being with us this Saturday morning. We have a fantastic guest and a personal friend of Dan and myself. His name is John McCann. He is the author of Build the Perfect Survival Kit and Stay Alive, Survival Skills You Need. That's a new book that he has out. He's also the owner of Survival Resources. That's a company that specializes in survival kits, survival components, and outdoors skills courses. You can contact John through his website at www.bepreparedtosurvive.com. And we'd like to welcome John here today. Hey, John, good to have you here, buddy.
Hey, thanks for inviting me. I always enjoy talking to you and Dan. So let's do it.
So you enjoy this, do you?
you notice he said he enjoyed talking to me and you. I was surprised when he said both of us. So that
I was. So I think I caught him off guard.
Yeah. Hey, John.
Most people who know me know I just like to talk. So.
Well, hey, we enjoy talking to you. Got a lot of information to tell the public, so we're really excited to talk to you today. But before we kind of get into anything, we know that you're from New York. Can you tell the guys? I know I give a little bio on you, but maybe just kind of where you're from and.
Well, I'm from Hyde Park, New York. I've been here most of my life, except for the 6 years I was in the Marine Corps. I did a lot of consulting pretty much after that, traveled around the world, spent a lot of time living in hotels, decided to return to Hyde Park. My parents got older, and I've been here ever since. I like this area in regard to the nature that's available to us up here. I'm not too nuts about some of the other things about New York, but this is where I started. This is probably where I'm going to end. Started here. I've been playing outdoors ever since I was a kid. Being just a country boy, it's sort of an ongoing joke. A lot of people who know me, they know I was adopted, and I was real fortunate to get adopted by a man who was a Gold Palm Eagle Scout. He also ended up being my scoutmaster, and his idea of being outside was just doing it all the time. Every summer vacation, I remember we either went camping in the Adirondacks, we went to Catskills. I used to kid my friends in the Marine Corps. I told them I didn't know about hotels until I joined the Marine Corps. I just thought at night you pulled over the car and pitched a tent. That's all. That's the way our vacations went every year when I was a kid. We always lived out of a tent, and because of that, we learned a lot of skills and a love for the outdoors, which is what I really try to get people involved with, is getting out there. That's the most important thing, is getting out there and having some fun. My dad was sort of a jack of all trades, so I was fortunate that he not only taught me love for the outdoors, but he was a real a gardener, a plumber, a carpenter. Everything that was done on the house, my dad did. So that sort of also moved me into the self-reliance. I know both you guys are a little bit involved in self-reliance with your magazine there, and me and my wife Denise are both very involved in self-reliance today, and plan as we get older and retire that's what we really want to do. We want to get a small place where we can farm, garden, have animals, solar, really get off the grid. That's our plan, is to get off the grid. I know you guys are involved with a lot of the same type of thing. I hope that answered some of your question.
Oh, it absolutely did. I can see where you got your interest in outdoors. Let's say if someone's relatively new to camping and not had the opportunities like, say, you had, because I can tell you right now, just from what I was listening to you, those family vacations, you got a lot of memories from them. So you had a real good background in the outdoors. But what advice, if someone came to you, let's just say, and heard a little bit about you, and they said, hey, I want to get started in this camping and this bushcraft stuff. How would you maybe let them know a good way to get into it?
Actually, I get phone calls like that all the time, which is why I put one of the articles up on my website called Backyard/Camping Survival. And backyard survival, to me, is the way to start for people. A lot of people, they get out there and they start buying stuff. They go to EMS and they buy a tent and they buy a sleeping bag and they buy different things and they head out to the woods. And everything isn't what it's advertised. So my big push, my big motivation for people is buy this stuff and then go camp in your backyard. Try out your sleeping bag. Try out your tarp. Try out your fire starter. I do the same thing in survival kits when I built that book. I tell people, when you put together a survival kit, get out in the yard, use it all. Try it out. You may decide, hey, this doesn't work for me. I don't like this. This doesn't function the way I thought it would. It gives you the opportunity to learn skills. At the same time, it gives you a home base. If you go out and that sleeping bag doesn't quite work, it's not warm enough, guess what? You can go in the house. And once you get these skills down and you start feeling pretty comfortable with your equipment, now it's time to go car camping or truck camping. Head up to the Adirondacks, the Catskills, or whatever type of camping places you have in the state you belong, and try it there. Now, you can still get back in the truck and go home if something goes wrong. But I always advise against this buying the stuff and then, okay, I'm going to go do the Appalachian Trail. And they get out there about the third day and their equipment is breaking down, nothing's working, they forgot something, they haven't learned the skill set yet that teaches them how to improvise, adapt, and overcome, where that's a lot easier to deal with when you're in your yard or you're at a state campsite where you can go and get drinking water, or you can do this or you can do that. So that's my only suggestion to people when they call, is to really get involved with that type of stuff. Once you've done that, now start going to a survival school. Go to a survival school and start learning some more of the skills that you need, because you can't learn them all yourself. So go to a good survival school. There's a lot of good ones out there, and start learning skills. Not every school is for every person. They should study the schools, see what it is you want to learn. There's schools out there that do primitive skills. There's schools out there that do modern skills. There's schools out there that do both. It depends on where you're at in your time in your life, what you feel you need expertise at, and then look for a school that's going to offer you those skills.
So would you say that people should start with a modern skill set before they go to the primitive, or would you encourage them to do both? Or
I absolutely do. Anyone who reads my new book, Stay Alive, it's not only the only book out there that's full color. I really get into how to survive in the first 2 or 3 days, and the best way really to do that is with a survival kit and with equipment that you bring with you. There's a lot of schools out there, not a lot of schools, there are schools out there that push people into primitive right away. I won't mention any by name. I know there's one out west that has had a couple of people killed through dehydration because they didn't have the skill set. My contention is when you first get your kit together, you're going to live off your kit as you learn your primitive skills. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go out and learn primitive skills, but you should know how to start a fire, how to build a shelter with what's in your pack, how to do these type of things, how to navigate, how to do the important things. Before you start learning the primitive. The advantage of the primitive is now you can start doing without the stuff that's in your kit. But if you know how to deal with the stuff that's in there, then in my humble opinion, and I'm obviously no expert in this, I tell people I'm definitely not an expert. I'm a student of survival. I'm always going to be a student of survival. But I find for people who are new, and we're not talking people who spent their whole life out in the woods. I'm talking to people, which your original question was people who are new. They haven't done this before. Give yourself an ace in the hole. You got to have some way to do things. If you go out there and you want to start a fire with a bow and drill and you can't, then your kit should provide you with the basics to start a fire. People always ask me, what should be in a kit? You know, what do you need to put in your kit? And I always tell them, in my original book, I broke it down in a manner whereby people can understand that it's not so much what do I need It's what do I have to do? I think that's an important lesson for most people, that when you go out, you get in a survival situation, you need to build a fire, build a shelter. That's very important. You need to signal for help. You need to gather and purify drinking water. You got to navigate back to civilization. You got to carry out basic first aid. These skills or these things that you have to do tells you what to have in your kit. You don't have to remember what to have, but what you got to remember is I need a shelter or a fire. So you should have something in your kit to build a shelter and build the fire. If you need to signal for help, well, maybe you should have something in your kit to be able to signal with, something to navigate with, something to collect and purify water with. So if you break it down that way, it's, in my opinion, it's much easier to remember what you need to carry. Now, as you gain your skill level, well, of course, do you need 3 ways to start a fire? I can do a bow and drill. I can do primitive means of starting a fire, but I never go anywhere without 3 ways to start a fire. And there's a lot of people out there who really say, well, if you're really good, if you really know what you're doing, then you don't need this. Well, I'm telling you what, if you're up in northern New York and you fall through the ice in the middle of the winter up here, okay, I don't care how good you are with a bow and drill, it's not going to happen. You're going to die. You're going to die. It's that easy. Hypothermia is going to set in so fast. I can see people who do a bow and drill, I say, now see what we've done? See how we've gathered the wood and we've made this set to start a fire with, and then we've worked with it and we've made a fire. Can you imagine yourself doing that after crawling out of ice water? It's not going to happen. If you don't have matches, you don't have a ferro rod, you don't have some way to immediately start a fire, you're going to be in trouble. And that's why I push having these items with you. It's not that I don't want to be Mr. Primitive. I want to be Mr. Practical. I used to own a business years ago that was not a survival business, and I used to call it, I used to have a practical means of doing this, which is why I got heavy in consulting. And when I got back into survival, I said, I'm going to do practical survival. I'm not out to prove to anyone that I am Mr. Primitive or that I can live in the woods for the rest of my life with nothing but, a sharp rock. That's not what I'm about. I'm about teaching people how to survive practically, where most people are not skilled. I mean, I've been with both you guys down at the Pathfinder gathering. We have a lot of skilled people down there, a lot of skilled people with a lot of primitive skills, but everybody isn't like that. These are guys, we eat, breathe, and sleep this stuff. Most of your people who go camping, go hiking, go on a trail, there's a chance they can get lost. There's people who have gotten out of their car to take a picture of the sunset and fell down a bank, broke a leg, and laid there for 2 days. These are the people I'm talking about, people that don't have the mind or the witherall that we have to practice, and that's what it takes, practice. So that's why I feel when people get involved with this, they really need this stuff to help them. Is that making any sense to you guys?
Oh, it absolutely is. You brought up a lot of good points. And, we're going to talk to you more about the primitive and the modern, and I want to get into talking about your books. Right now, Mikey has given us hey, we got to go to commercial segment. So, guys, we're going to be right back in just a few minutes with John McCann from Survival Resources, so stay tuned. Self Reliance Illustrated, teaching our youth and passing on the tribal knowledge, a bi-monthly magazine that you can check out online. They have articles on shelter, water, food, prepping, just general outdoor stuff. What do you think of that one, Dan?
Oh, this thing is awesome. When you look at some of these things in this magazine, you are going to have a ball.
So that's Self Reliance Illustrated. Where can we find it?
www.selfrelianceillustrated.com.
And we're back with John McCann from Survival Resources. You can reach John at www.bepreparedtosurvive.com. And John, pleasure having you here today. And we want to get into talking to you about primitive skills and a few other things, right, Dan?
Absolutely. John, I'd like to hear some more about your books. Give us a little more information about that book.
Okay, well, as most people know, or a lot of people know, I was the first one to write a book on survival kits. It's still the only book out there that exclusively about survival kits, how to build them, this type of thing, and that was Build the Perfect Survival Kit. What I left out of there was how to use a survival kit to survive, because there's so much involved with building a kit, and I wanted people to have the basics. I always had in the back of my mind that I would do another book, How to Survive with a Survival Kit. This new book, which I fought extensively with the publisher over, that I wanted a book full color. And they said, well, we just don't do survival books in full color. Look around. There's hundreds of books out there in survival, and they're all in black and white. And I said, that's right, and that's why I'm not going to do one. I want to do one in full color. I don't want to use all the old black and white diagrams out of military manuals and this, that. I want to do full color. I want to do full color graphics. And I sold them on the idea. And it came out last November. It's doing very well. And the book is broken down in how to really survive using the stuff that's on you, what's in your survival kit, what's in your pack, what you have with you for a few days. I explain in the book, this is not about primitive skills. This is not about living out in the woods forever. It is about how to get through a 2 or 3 day survival situation utilizing what you have on you. And I'm pretty proud of it. It's a pretty good-looking book. I know Steve Davis had done a review on it, and he said the book was worth just the navigation chapter. The navigation chapter in the book is probably almost the size of most small navigation books. So I put a lot of work into it, a lot of effort. I have to, as always, thank my wife, because it put a heck of a burden on her at the business, keeping up with things while I did this. And, of course, I kept stopping her during the day saying, oh, we got to go photograph this, we got to go photograph that. And then on weekends we're out in the woods photographing, and a lot of effort. A lot of people don't know the effort goes into a book. It takes a couple of years and a lot of work. This one here has, I think, 375 color photos in it. A lot of work, but I'm proud of it. I think it offers a lot of information, especially to those people who are not real well skilled.
That sounds like my kind of book, because I first read a book by looking at all the pictures in the book, and then I go back through and read it. But so I get a summary of the book just by looking at the pictures first, and then I go back. So sounds like I would enjoy that book.
Well, we'll get one out to you, Dan.
All right,
I thought I had one down there for you guys, but I think someone else down there got it and probably doesn't want to share it.
That's probably, hey, that's a good thing if it's good enough to kind of keep in. And that's the thing I think about a book like yours, is you don't read it and put it away. It really becomes a reference manual that you go back to time and time again. And I think that is real important about that as well.
Apparently, you don't give it to your buddy either.
I guess I don't. I'm not going to tell you where it's in.
I'm glad you brought that up, LT, because I've been told both of my books are really reference manuals, and that's what people like about them. One guy, Build the Perfect Survival Kit, he said he's had that in his truck since 2005, and whenever the wife goes grocery shopping, he pulls it out and always finds something new. People say they got hundreds of yellow stickies sticking out of them. That's what I wanted to write, something that people wouldn't, it's not a novel you read and you put away. It's something that down the road you go, gee, I'm interested in this. I got to go pull out that book and look at the section on fire starters or this or that. And I think I hit the nail on the head with both of them.
It sounds like you did, and I'm pretty excited about that, because I'm big on reference materials, whether it has to do with the outdoors or Jeeps or anything. You should see my TV room. I have stacks of magazines here and there and stuff. And I probably don't know where it all is, but again, just like you said, it's there for future reference when that day I come back to it. So I always keep that on hand. John, if a guy wanted either one of your books, where's the best place for them to find that?
Well, I'd like to say our website. We are the only place that sell autographed copies, obviously. But if people want the cheapest copy, then Amazon.com. If they go to a bookstore or Barnes & Noble, somewhere like that, they're probably going to pay list price. We sell it a little less than list price, and we will autograph it if requested. But if you go to Amazon.com, they give it away. I don't know how they make money there. They sell it cheaper than I can sell it. I know that. But a lot of people buy it from there. Matter of fact, I've had a lot of people buy it from Amazon.com, and then they meet up with me at the Pathfinder Gathering, Dirt Time, and to get me to sign it then. They bring it with them and have me sign it at that point. I always tell them signature doesn't make it worth anymore. The only difference is I always sign under my picture, and that way if you see the picture in the post office someday, you can say, yeah, I got that guy's signature.
Yeah, that makes it might be worth more that way. You never know. But yeah, it's always nice if and again, if people are supporting businesses like yours direct, you're a small businessman, you're making a go at it here in the U.S., doing something that you believe in and you like. It's always good to support them, and I try to encourage people to do that as well. And I try myself to support the small businessman like yourself. And if you get an autographed copy out of it, what the heck? That's kind of nice all the way around. So I'm excited about that. Hey, John, I know earlier you mentioned the different things, what a guy would carry in his pack. What do you carry in your pack? What is your kind of like your go-to items that you don't get caught without, whether you're out around town grocery shopping or on a day hike or something? What are the things that you always, no matter what, these are the things you have with you?
I could go on probably forever, written articles on it, books. There's certain things. I always start both my books and me with my EDC. And I know we probably discuss EDC later on, but my everyday carry that is on me, people in the past have laughed at me. People now who get to know me go, well, if we want something, we know John probably has it on him. I know we were emptying our pockets one time years ago. We were doing a defensive tactics course. I was teaching executive protection at the time, and I put all my stuff out of my pockets in a pile, my neck knife and this and that. And one guy looked at the other students and says, you never want to stand next to John in a lightning storm. And that's because I just believe in being prepared. I'm never without fire. I'm never without a knife. I'm never without a flashlight. I'm never without at least a signaling device, a whistle, although I do have a small signal mirror in my wallet. My wallet also has a fire starting gear in it. I always have in my right rear pocket, I got a lot of people have seen it, I call it the pocket pallet. It has 35 feet of parachute cord on it, and that lives with a bandana and some toilet paper. And those are, if I'm in a suit and tie or if I'm out in the woods, those things are always in my pocket. I always have a neck knife. My neck knife also has a compass on it. It has another fire starter. It has a small fishing kit for freshwater fishing. These are things that just are always, always, always on me. Where mini kits and me thinking my EDC sort of is like a mini kit, it's obviously always lacking in shelter. So one thing, whether it's a small pack, a day pack, a bug-out pack, whatever it is, I always make sure I got shelter components in there because that's something you really need. I've had arguments with various people over the years, friendly arguments, obviously, with friends over what's more important, fire or shelter. And nobody's going to win the argument because it doesn't depend on what's more important. It depends on the situation. Talked to a friend of mine in the desert, and he says, that fire is always more important than shelter. I'm sorry, he says shelter is always more important than fire. And I tell him, then you've never been in the Northeast in the winter. Not to go back to falling through the ice, but I tell them, if you fall through the ice and you crawl out of this thing and you get in a shelter, when you get up in the morning, you're going to be a popsicle, okay? You don't get a fire going. Get the fire going. Now you can get your hands warm. You can get the dexterity back in your ability to build a shelter. So it depends on where you are. So to me, fire is very important. Signaling is very important. Shelter is omni-important. And water. Food for a short-term survival situation, I'm not too concerned with it, although there's always power bars. I always have this little small setup. I got like 2 cups of soup, and I got one of those foil things of tuna fish, and a package of instant oatmeal. It makes a real nice little teeny bag. You can put it in any one of your packs, but it gives you that energy you're going to need to push through. You don't need food to survive, but you need the energy. A couple of Snicker bars will go a long way, I tell you. So these are things that are important no matter what type of kit you have. If you get into urban, we get into a whole different bag of tricks. I probably carry things. I'm actually writing an article right now on ununique urban survival things. I carry I'll make sure I always have a mask on me. I always tell people, look at 9/11. These people running down the street with the white stuff all over their face, not being able to breathe. I always believe in having the, I think it's N95 masks. We sell them here. I always got 2 of those in my bag. I carry a pair of water goggles for swimming. I've never worn goggles swimming in my life, but they seal around the eyes. They're small, and so they stay in my urban pack. So if there's a lot of debris, a lot of stuff, a windstorm, something like that, I can put on a mask, I can seal around my eyes, and now I can see. Portable sunglasses, things like this. Electronic things. I got a little circuit that plugs into 12-volt. Also has alligator clips to be able to recharge my cell phone or an iPod, any 5-volt thing. I also have one with alligator clips that'll hook up to most phone lines, as long as it's not fiber optic. But most phone lines, they have 45 volts on them, and I have a circuit that brings it back down to 5 volts. So if I can find me a phone line somewhere, I can always recharge my cell phone off that. Just little things that most people, they always think wilderness survival, and I think survival. And that's whatever you're in. I know you guys just got back from St. Louis. I mean, living in a hotel, how many of you staying in the hotel had rope in your bag and a carabiner and a loop and a mini 8? I have a suitcase that I travel with that has rappelling gear in it, and it's been in there for 30 years. It lives in there. So that if I got to go out the window, I can get out the window. When you feel that door, if it's hot, you're not going to open it. If it's not, you're going to put on your smoke hood, grab your flashlight, and crawl down the hallway. And, of course, you've already counted the doors to the exit because you already know that you're not going to be able to see in the smoke. So you have to know that 4 doors down on the right is the stairs. So I know we got a little out of wilderness survival there, but this is the way my mind thinks, that I never know what environment I'm going to be in. Okay, it's not always going to be the woods.
Well, the survival that you're into, it does take care of yourself year-round everywhere that you want to be, and we're well aware of that. I just want to remind you that today's program is brought to you by SRI, that's Self Reliance Illustrated. Remember, you can check it out at selfrelianceillustrated.com. You might want to check that out. John has actually been an author in that magazine. There's, I believe you had a signaling mirror article in one of the back issues. You can check the back issues out, are available on e-copy, and there's still some of the print copy available too as well. And John, sadly, we are starting to run out of time today, and we have barely touched on a lot of these topics. We would love to have you back. Do you got any problem coming back in a couple months and talking to us again?
Not at all. I think we got another 15, 20 things we can discuss. I mean,
at least.
Absolutely.
My problem is I go off on tangents. You guys, as interviewers, you really, I know you can't grab me by the throat because we're not live here, but you gotta, if I could see the nod saying, okay, you're boring, to move on to something else, and then we can move on to something else. But there's a lot of other things we can discuss here. A lot of things.
Absolutely. You're a wealth of knowledge, and everything that we did talk about today, some of it I hadn't even thought of, so appreciate you bringing those things up, and would definitely love to talk to you again, because again, we probably have so many things that we can talk to you about. But John, I wanted to thank you for being with us today. And again, folks, you can check John McCann out at www.bepreparedtosurvive.com. You can email him at survivalman@optimum.net. He is the owner of Survival Resources. His name is John McCann. I'm sure, John, if they emailed you, you'd be more than happy to talk to them about a whole different bunch of stuff. And guys, we thank John for being here today. And Dan and I will be again here next week with you. We, for the very latest, be sure to like us on our BHK Outdoors Facebook page, or you can follow us on Twitter. And as always, guys, any questions or show ideas for Dan and I, you can email us at radio@bhkoutdoors.com. Thank you all for being with us today. Remember to join us right here next Saturday morning for BHK Outdoors, your beacon for all things outdoors. Thanks to our producer, Mike Henniger. And until then, I'm LT.
And I'm Dan.
And may God bless all of you.